And welcome back to the Promethean podcast. I'm Jesse.
And I'm Josh.
And we are back with another fun-filled episode of Absolutely Nothing.
We have no idea what we're going to do tonight.
Yeah. How you been, bro?
Good. How are you?
Better. I had a nice little bout of COVID. And to those people who live in certain areas of the United States, COVID is real.
COVID is real.
It is real. I do understand that the severity of it depends on your overall health and what kind of strain you got, because now we have like the Decepticon strain going around. But for me, it was not fun.
No.
So I want to say I was down, I was out of work for almost 2 weeks, which I thought was going to be really fucking cool. So the funny thing, I don't even want to say it's funny. So at work, we were all joking about it almost every day when we would get a notification that somebody tested positive and they were out of work. Mm-hmm. The joke around work was like, well, hopefully it's me next so I can not have to come to work.
Right, yeah, keep me out of work for a couple weeks.
So then 2 weeks after I made that joke, I got it, and it was like, I don't think I've ever been, or at least I've never felt more sick in my life, and it was pretty bad. It was not fun.
Yeah, we had Huxley tested positive a week ago today.
Really?
And I think Samara had it right before that because she was pretty sick the weekend before that. Well, I didn't get her tested. And so he was home all week last week from school. So they had already Monday off because of Martin Luther King Day. And then they had taken Friday the week before and Tuesday the day after as inclement weather days just to try to get people healthy because they had less than 50% staff in their school district due to the COVID outbreaks. And so he ended up staying home with his mom Tuesday, Wednesday. She took the 2 days off work, and then he stayed with me Thursday, Friday because I'm working from home anyways. And he literally, I swear, over the 2 day period, played probably 20 hours of Paper Mario Color Splash on the Wii U in his bedroom. Like, he just sat there, and I would hear him. I'm working, I'm on meetings or doing my work stuff, and I would hear him at points when he was stuck, screaming at the TV and all this other stuff. And then he kept coming in Dad, can you search up how to beat this boss? Dad, can you do this? Or he loved it. He honestly only felt sick that Monday. That was it. That he tested positive. He ran a fever, and he only ran a fever for about 12 hours. That was it.
Wow.
But because of it, he had to stay out of school for an entire week. So,
yeah.
I mean, he loved it. He went back to school today and was not happy about it. So,
I bet. Oddly enough, I was actually kind of happy to be back at work. I was losing my mind. It was near the end of being at home.
Yeah.
Was perfectly normal because I felt fine for the last 4 or 5 days that I was home.
Right.
And Rachel was home with me the whole time, but the first 6 days it was just I was losing my fucking mind, just being cooped up on the couch all day.
Right.
Migraine, chills, fever, feeling like I was gonna die. Just very weird fatigue. I keep saying it when people ask me oh, what was the worst thing? It was the fatigue. I still can't understand why the fatigue was so bad. I literally felt like I was 80 years old. It was so freaky.
Yeah, it's crazy because obviously it impacts everybody so differently. I mean, I think I had it Christmas of 2020. I think is when I never got tested because at that point in time you couldn't even find tests because they were so hard to find.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And so I had the kids for Christmas, and starting Christmas Eve, I felt like complete crap, shivering, shaking, running a very, very mild fever. It wasn't bad. It wasn't a high fever, but I was taking ibuprofen every 5 hours, just to battle off the shakes and the aches and all that stuff, and it lasted for 3 days. I've not felt like that since then, that bad. I mean, there's been a couple times where, within the past couple weeks that I'm, fairly certain Samara had it, and I know for sure Huxley had it. where I felt like, more tired than usual, but I'm like, that also is probably just old age. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even, like, I'm not going to go get myself tested, right? Like, I'm fully vaccinated up. I'm boosted up. Like, and I had 0 reactions to any of those 3 shots. 0.
Really?
Yeah, none. The only reaction I had was just your standard, arm soreness from getting a shot, right? Sticking a needle in you, Next time I'm going to ask him to stick it in my dick. But, like, so I can get some soreness. But I mean, like, I can't use it today, baby. But, like, no, I never experienced anything. I was totally anticipating with the booster, because everyone said that is, like, the worst from everybody I've talked to that has gotten it. And sure enough, I'm, like, sitting there, like, I'm literally, like... And I did it on a Thursday, hoping I wouldn't feel good on Friday so that I could take the day off work. And I was like bummed. I woke up Friday morning feeling fine. And I'm like...
You were like, fuck.
I almost just took a sick day anyways, because who's going to call you out on that, right? Like, I got my booster. Yeah, you could totally I don't feel good. They're going to be like, who's going to be like, show me the proof, like... But I did, and I was a good soldier. I did, piss off a little bit, but, whatever. So.
Yeah, whatever. You're allowed a little bit.
Right. Yeah, so no, glad you're feeling better. It's crazy. I mean, cases are rising everywhere. The school's back to with that break they took, they're back to a decent percentage now, which is good. Nice. But, I mean, it's important. I mean, it's important to, I keep telling people, like, get your vaccinations, like, wear a mask. Like, I started wearing a mask back at the gym a while back. I hate doing it because I hate it at the gym because it just makes it so much more difficult to, like, just get my breath normal and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, it's like you take the precautions like that. But at the end of the day, I mean, this isn't going away. I mean, we're going to have other strains of this thing as it goes on. And there's going to be other boosters that come out you're going to need to take. I mean... So it's like you're just going to have to, it's going to swing all over the place, and you're just going to have to continue to, like, okay, take precautions, do this, do that. I mean, I was at the Call of Duty League event all weekend. Like, they were mandating masks and everything, but, like, I'm not going to not go do stuff I want to do. I mean...
Yeah, well, that's how I feel about, like, going back to shows.
Yeah.
Like, I can't remember which venue it was, because I've been to 2, but I can't remember the venue. But they were like, you need proof of vaccination to get in or whatever. And it's like, dude, I don't give a fuck. Like, I just want to go back to shows. I would literally risk getting sick just to be able to go back to shows.
I'm cool with that.
How much that, like, means to me.
Yeah, I mean,
that was a huge part of my life.
Yeah, when we went to see
I'm gonna go do it.
Evanescence back in November, sorry. When they were in town, they had that. You had to show your proof of vaccination, or you had to take a COVID test before you walked in. That line for the fucking COVID test was longer than, like, Cedar Point to get on a ride. I mean, that thing was fucking insane. And, like, obviously we had our Vax cards, so that was fine. They were just like, cool, you're good, or whatever. But, like, I'm fine with that. Like, put that type of restriction, because you know what? If you're a jackass and you're, not vaccinated and you got to go wait in line, honestly, if you're not vaccinated and you want to go wait in line and get a test and it comes back negative, I hope it does come back negative so your ass can't get into the venue and you wasted a shitload of your time. Like, get those people out of here. Like, I don't want to be around them. But then I went to the Infected Rain concert before that in October or September, I think it was. They didn't do anything like that. They just mandated, like, masks and things like that. So it's interesting. Not everybody's doing it the same way, but I think
I think it depends on the venue.
It is the venue, and I've noticed that it's more the higher end venues that are doing, like, the vaccination card checks and stuff like that.
Yeah. So to put that in perspective, when I went to the Crowfoot, it was all over. Crowfoot they were actually pretty, like, by the book with restrictions. But when I went to the Sanctuary in Hamtramck. I mean, that place is a fucking hole in the wall. I love that place. Yeah. It's a great venue, but nobody gave a fuck there,
No.
But it's like, I was still going to go regardless. I mean, I went and saw the Acacia Strain, Dying Wish, and Kubla Khan and all them.
Yeah, they probably...
It was a fucking amazing show, but it does depend on the venue. Because you're going to have some venue who's got an 82-year-old fucking Italian guy who's lived in Detroit, for his entire life, and he's gonna go, "I don't give a fuck," you know.
Yeah,
like,
he's over there.
I want to make money
in people's mouths as they walk in. So
yeah, he's fucking licking people as they walk in. But
yeah,
no, some of the higher end, like the All That Remains is playing with Miss May I at the Machine Shop.
Yep.
Coming up into next. When is that? Because they're playing in Texas in April. I want to say it's March. It's in March that they're going to be in Flint. And they have their restrictions. I mean, a Machine Shop is well known enough. To know that they don't want to fuck around. So, but I don't care. I'll play. Like, you could tell me that I have to come in on a pogo stick, and I'll do it. Like, I want to go to these shows.
Right. Yeah. Tell me to bend over and shove a dildo in my ass.
You can tell me that I have to have a dick shoved up my butt prior to entry.
I'll do it myself before I get there.
And I'll do it.
No, it's crazy because like I was looking at some of the upcoming concerts, since we're on this topic, and like, a huge concert. I'm sure you're aware about it, but that was announced not that long ago. Was Megadeth and Lamb of God on tour with In Flames, and oh my gosh, it escapes me, the fourth one, but they're not coming anywhere near Dallas. Like they're playing in Corpus Christi, which is like 5 hours away, and then they're playing in Tulsa, which is like 3.5 hours away. I'm like, I'm not driving 3 hours for a concert.
Well,
I'm sorry.
They're not even playing in Michigan, which was
they're playing in Grand Rapids.
Are they?
Mm-hmm. I was looking at it the other day.
How did I miss that?
They're playing in Grand Rapids.
I totally missed that. That'd be a killer show.
No, it'd be a great show.
It's only like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, Grand Rapids is nothing. It'd be a great show. Yeah, they're playing at Van Andel.
I totally missed that.
But, I mean, that'll be a great... I mean, Megadeth is lame. I don't like them, but, like, whatever. I mean,
it would be kind of funny, and I'm sure I'd be crucified if this ever made the mainstream. I would literally, as soon as Lamb of God got done, right before Megadeth, I would leave.
Oh, I would. I mean,
just to beat the crowd.
When we went to see Infected Rain, which is my all-time favorite band, like the Butcher Babies were the headliners, and we didn't even stay for it. Like, I watched.
That's just nobody gives a shit about.
No, Butcher Babies aren't good. Like
nobody cares.
The opening band was Stitched Up Heart, and they were incredible. And then obviously Infected Rain played, which was phenomenal. And then we pieced out. Like, I don't have a problem doing that, honestly. Like, I have zero issues doing that. Like, I don't care about seeing Megadeth. Like, Megadeth is not good. I've never liked their music. Like,
nah, I've never been a fan.
I mean, all power to them, to all the cool stuff they've done over the years and the influence they've had and all this other stuff. I don't take anything away from them, but they're just not my type of music. Like, I'm not a big Metallica fan, Megadeth fan, like, all that type of, like, Anthrax. All that shit is so dumb. Like, it's just old school bullshit. Like, I don't want anything to do with that.
Agreed.
Although, you should look at, so at the Fillmore, because I was looking this up the other day, are you familiar with the band Spirit Box?
Yeah, I've been jamming them ever since they came out with their new album.
Yeah, they're incredible. Her voice is incredible, but they're going to be at the Fillmore in March. They're touring with Voyeurist and Under Oath.
Under Oath would be cool.
Under Oath is good live. I'm not a big fan of their music, but they're really good. They put on a really good show. But yeah, they'll be at the Fillmore in March. They're here in next month, February 18th, and I'm debating going. Like, literally, I would go just to see Spirit Box and probably leave, though. So
yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I probably would too. Yeah, I really enjoyed their newest album. I thought it was really good.
It's incredible.
She's quite the vocalist, from being clean and then screaming.
Yeah, her transitions are amazing too. I mean, it's hard to transition like that, and she does it. I mean, obviously, Tatiana from Ginger's probably one of the best when it comes to transitioning like that. Her voice is just incredible on every level, but it's hard to make those transitions that quick, and she does a really good job of it.
Right. Especially when it comes from a person like me who doesn't sing very well. Everybody sounds good. I don't know if this is kind of getting off topic, but I really wanted to poke your brain on this. I don't know if you saw, it was a recent post that I put up on Instagram, and it was a story. It wasn't a post, actually. And I was quoting someone who said something really dumb. I don't know if you saw that.
I mean, probably.
So, well, you're going to know who it is as soon as I tell the story.
Oh, this makes it even better. Okay.
So, let's just say the other day, I'm talking to this individual, and sometimes I like to pick their brain because I know, like, how bad a judgment that they have. And they're almost like my own personal social experiment. Unknowingly. Like, they have no idea because that's how dumb they actually are.
Yeah.
So, they kind of, like, ask me, like, hey, how you feeling better from COVID and all that? And I tell them, like, yeah, I'm great now, blah, blah, blah. Go through all that shit. Well, then I wanted to bring to their attention some research I've been doing since I had COVID. And I've been looking at stuff quite a bit since then, so the past couple weeks. And it was on an antioxidant compound called acetylcysteine, or NAC. And it's a dietary supplement. It's an antioxidant that you can take like a vitamin.
Yeah.
And I've been taking it for over 6 months. It's just part of my vitamin routine. And it's good for anti-inflammatory shit, and it's really good for eliminating free radicals and all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. And I had noticed that when I had COVID, I was extremely, like, physically close directly before I tested positive with my daughter and my wife and our parents. Mm-hmm. And none of them tested positive. They never got it.
Yep.
So I just thought that was weird. Number one, I was thankful as shit. Because I was really worried, like super worried.
Yeah.
But I thought that was odd. So I started just going down the list of like things that I take regularly that I've built up in my system. And if there's any like data out there that shows like, hey, this could be good for COVID, blah, blah, blah. Or not good for COVID, but if you have COVID.
Yeah.
Well, I actually found a shit ton of non-peer-reviewed data. So it's not like mainstream work that you would find on WebMD or anything.
Yeah.
It's not stuff that a doctor can like legally recommend to you because it's not peer-reviewed science, even though it's like actual clinical information. So I found a shit ton of stuff that supported the idea, not just in theory, but actual like collected information. Mm-hmm. That NAC basically reduces the viral load of any given virus. So there has been like one of the craziest studies that I read about was a controlled study in 2020, so super new.
Yeah.
And it was over a 16-week period, and it showed a 50% mortality rate decrease. So less people were dying from HIV, hepatitis, all these different viruses. Mm-hmm. So they decided to do the same with COVID. Now, there wasn't, despite what the tinfoil hat people are saying, there wasn't too much data to say whether or not it would decrease mortality rates in COVID patients, but they did take severe COVID patients who had severe respiratory issues, and they supplemented them with acetylcysteine over this course of time, and it dramatically decreased inflammation by 70%, which meant that it reduced their viral load by 70%. So that just meant that, in layman's terms, they were 70% less likely to give the virus to someone else. So, now mind you, you know me, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, I'm not a fucking moron, and I'm very open-minded. So when I take data, I take it at face value, and I just say, hey, well, here's an extra tool in your toolbox. Maybe you should use this when you try to think for yourself.
Right.
Well, that's what I was like trying to do with this person. I said, this is a very interesting study that I've been reading, and I'm not connecting dots because it's not what I do, but it is interesting nonetheless. They literally just, I don't know why, because I'm not a psychologist, they just completely stonewalled actual discussion on scientific data and said, oh yeah, well, I read this one thing where like if you have a certain blood type, you can't get COVID. And so I was like, hold on. So I was like, okay, well, where'd you read that? And they were like, I don't know, I read it somewhere.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I mean, like, can you, like, tell me where you read it? I'd like to read. Because that, I mean, that's interesting. You know, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
what's your source?
No, I'd like to, I'd like to see, like, where you read that. You know, can you send me that article? Or is it is it a paper that you read? Or I don't remember it. You know, it was on social media or something. And it dawned on me, I'm like, this is the problem with a lot of people.
Right.
Is that they're just taking things that literally is not any type of data or like even peer-reviewed stuff. They're just taking someone who decides to post something and they're going, well, that kind of makes sense to what I believe. That fits my narrative in a way. Like, I'll believe that. And they don't even know why they believed it.
Yeah.
So I decided to kind of like cognitively fuck around with this person. Just to like see if they could catch on that like they don't know how to think for themselves. So
yeah.
I mean, we had a little bit more discussion on blood types, and I honestly just told this person, I was like, I've never heard of that. I mean, it sounds interesting or whatever, but maybe I could look into it. I've never seen anything on it, and clearly they couldn't produce anything on it besides their word. Which, sorry, that's not good enough for me. And so I said, what's your take on everything? Like with COVID and. What do you gather from all this? And they said, I wholeheartedly believe that the COVID-19 virus is genetically engineered, and it's the United States government trying to do a population control. And I wanted to laugh because I'm like, dude, this isn't Hollywood. Like, you're not making a TV show. Like, just relax. But I humored him and was like, why do you think that? And they were basically like, I mean, the signs are all around you. I mean, like, it's undeniable. And I kind of like asked again, but in a different way. Like, no, I mean, like, what have you been seeing that makes you believe that?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people believe that. And it just like kept hitting me in the head. Like, this is sadly like the thought process for a lot of people on a lot of things.
Yeah.
They have no idea why they believe shit. They're just believing it because it sounds... It's easier for them to believe than for them to get a shot. And I don't know, it's just so strange to me, and I mean, you could ask my wife. I was talking some mad shit when I was telling her about this, because it was so stupid that this person thought this way. But I try to be respectful, at least when I'm talking to this person, like, trying to get them to see, like, do you not see like how your thought processes are working and how there's just holes in your logic? Like, your logic is a piece of Swiss cheese. Yeah. And you don't even know that.
Yeah.
Well, then I decided to throw another little thing in there just to see how they would react and say, and I said, well, honestly, I think if there's any negligent or malevolent thing going on behind the scenes, I said I think it would probably end up having to do with money. I said, because governments are businesses.
Yep.
The world is run by money. If you don't have money, guess what? You have a shit, I'm sorry, but you have a shit country. Like, you're not going to be able to run it as well as a country with the most money. Yep. I mean, that's just how the world works, unfortunately.
That's 100% true.
And so all I did was just throw that out there. I said, I think it might have to do with money because that actually makes sense. I said, I'm not saying I believe that. I said, but if I was going to believe anything, I said, that would like make the most sense. And this motherfucker said, and I quote, oh my God, hold on a second. I don't want to misquote this dude. That's how important this is to me.
I'm loving it.
Like, I kind of wish I could... You know how I really want to talk to this dude on this topic? Our brother John.
Yeah, there we go.
Because he's probably the smartest person I know.
Yeah, probably, but he also is, not going to deal with people's bullshit.
I know, he probably wouldn't want to talk anyways.
He'd be like, nah, I'm good.
Okay, let me see here. Okay, so this person said, and I know that I probably wouldn't have misquoted it, but I just want to get it word for word.
Yeah.
They said, until you can convince me otherwise,
This is
I don't want to hear your opinion. I'll read it again. Until, just giving an ultimatum. Until you can convince me. So you got to convince me, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even want to hear it. And when this person said that, I wanted to be like, do you even know what you just said? You just told me that you need to be convinced in order to believe it, but you refuse to hear anything about it, which in turn will make sure that you don't believe it. And I kind of got up from the situation at that point and kind of just did other things. Because I was like, this is a literal brick wall that I've run into.
Yep.
And I'm not going to lie. So I posted that on my story. And I didn't say who it was, which I'm sure you could just fucking guess who it was. And just out of the, slim chance that somebody who I actually give a shit about might actually listen to this, I don't want to break their heart. So I'm not going to say who it is. But I posted that on my story, and I am not even shitting you. I so far have gotten 23 responses, which is a lot for me, who's a nobody and not popular.
Yeah.
I've gotten 23 people who messaged me saying, like, dude, this person sounds like a fucking idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who is this person? Or, hey, man, tell that person to fucking shut up. Like, that's because that's not normal.
No.
Like, that's a dangerous way to think. And I was talking to Rachel about it yesterday. Like, I'm probably paraphrasing. I don't have the best memory, so I'll probably misquote myself. But I can't even imagine thinking like that.
Yeah, I mean,
because you have to be open-minded. You have to be.
Yeah.
There's too much information out there. There's too many idiots out there giving out bad information, and you can't just take things at face value and just be like, yeah, that sounds good. No, you should take a look at it, see if it's true. And I was talking to my wife, and we were reminiscing about how there has been plenty of times in the past almost decade we've known each other where I've changed my mind on huge fucking topics because I am open-minded. I've seen actual data. Instead of just pulling shit out of my massive butthole, I actually read up on shit, and I challenge my ego, and I say, what's more important, believing a narrative that's comfortable or admitting that I'm fucking wrong?
Right.
And I might not know everything. A big one that, I'm sure there'll be people out there that'll laugh at this one. A big one for me was, climate change. Mm-hmm. And not just climate change in regards to, we got to stop using lawnmowers. We got to go out there with a pair of tweezers and do, to save the. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking big picture. Shit is happening to the ecosystem.
Yep.
Shit is happening to really fucking beautiful animals. We are fucking this world up. Yep. Some people are enjoying fucking this world up, which is really strange to me.
Yep.
They probably don't have a really good relationship with their families or friends. They sound like very toxic people.
Mm-hmm.
But I used to not believe in that because of how we were raised. I used to think it was all bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, you remember.
Yeah.
Oh, Al Gore's a crook.
Yeah.
Why is he a crook? Don't worry about it. Okay, well, I'm 7.
He just is.
I'm 7 years old. I'm not going to worry about it. Oh, I'm 22 years old. A light's going to come on. I don't know. I guess I said all that to say, I'm very thankful that I didn't end up like some people we know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very thankful not only for my sake, but for my daughter's sake that I have a brain that works.
Yeah.
That I'm not tied down to a fucking narrative. I don't put on a certain set of goggles to see the world in one specific light. I think that's a very dangerous way to think, and I'm not condemning anybody who thinks like that. There's a plenty good fucking people that I know that, hell, don't even believe in climate change or anything like that.
Right.
doesn't make you a bad person. It just makes you, unfortunately, accidentally ignorant.
Yeah, it makes you're uneducated and ignorant when it comes to topics, right? And like, a few things on all of what you said. Number one, sometimes like our buddy Fred Durst says, you just gotta have faith, and like that's what a lot of these people live on. It's just like religion, right? I mean, it's like nobody questions like people. There's so many people with religion that are so deep into religion and they have no idea why. Like when you ask them,
I think
why? We talked about this before.
They don't even know.
Why do you believe this? Because it's in the Bible. Okay.
Because it's true.
Because it's in the King James Bible. Okay. Like, you know what I mean? So the same thing.
Just because there's a subjective piece of information that makes sense to you, that does not make it true. That's not what a truth is.
Right.
A truth is an objective thing that is true whether you fucking like it or not. Like.
Right. Yeah, and I think, a couple other things too on what you said is, number one, like just going back to NAC, right? Like NAC is a drug, not a drug, but like it's made for anti-inflammatory, with the antioxidants and things like that. So the fact that this would help people, with COVID, or help maybe even to prevent, in a way, COVID type symptoms, right? It shouldn't be shocking because that's what it's like. COVID is like respiratory issues, right? Like,
yeah.
And so the fact that this, is out there, this supplement is out there that can actually help, right? Should not be a grand shock if you know what the supplement is, right? Like, so it makes sense. Now, is it, widely talked about or whatever? No, I don't think so. I think that, more education for people on this. Now, I'm not saying that's for everybody, right? There's plenty of case studies out there, around NAC and how it, things that they did with COVID and stuff like that. I mean, I was reading one as you were talking about 82 patients. This is from the middle of last year that they did, right, where, basically their conclusion was that oral administration, about 1,200 milligrams a day, in patients with COVID-19 reduced risk for medical ventilation and mortality, right?
See, now, like, just like you said, if you understand what it's made for, it does make sense. It's completely plausible because COVID-19 normally kills people because of the inflammatory issues that are caused in the cells in your lungs.
Right.
And that's why you end up on a ventilator, and that's why you die.
Yep.
The reason why NAC appears to be effective, not for keeping you away from COVID-19, it's not your, this is my other version of a vaccine. No. It simply helps. From what I can read, it simply helps because NAC reduces inflammatory symptoms in anybody. It doesn't give a fuck that you have COVID.
No.
It doesn't give a fuck if you have HIV. It sees inflammation and it goes, we can't let that happen. And it takes it away. My problem, and what I was trying to do the other day, is I was trying to see if this person would take the bait and be like, NAC. And it would be
who needs a vaccine?
Ivermectin horse pill or horse whatever the dildo, whatever the fuck people were shoving up their asses
horse
to
cock.
COVID. But they didn't take the bait because they don't even know how to say acetylcysteine.
Yeah.
But I think, and I'm not picking sides here, this is just me thinking with my brain, I think the reason why you're not going to see a lot of standalone studies with, hey, you should take this if you have COVID-19, and because the mainstream science or scientists and doctors know that if you say, and you know people like this, people are putting out there like everyone should take vitamin D. Vitamin D is going to save you. Vitamin D will save you from COVID. You don't need anything else but vitamin D. My thing is, why the fuck aren't you taking vitamin D? Everyone should be taking vitamin D is a vital nutrient that you need in your body. All it does is just assist if you have this certain virus. It's not a cure. And I think what a lot of people are doing, and a lot of people who could associate themselves with the person that I quoted earlier, a lot of people that same mindset is they're going to take this oh, it's ivermectin, or oh, it's D3, or oh, it's NAC. This is our savior. Because this allows me to not have to listen to the news. This allows me to not get my shot. And mind you, I mean, you should already know, I'm not one way or another. I don't give a shit if you don't get your shot, because I am totally for freedom of choice. As long as you're not fucking hurting me directly, you need to do what you feel is best for your body. Do I want you coughing on me? No. Do I want you breathing on me in line at the grocery store? No, thank you. That's gross. I don't want any illness that you have. But like, people are taking like, I want to say like they're taking every route that they can in order to not accept like mainstream data. Like, they're looking for a way out. Like, okay, well, so and so said I need to take this, this horse pill. Okay, but why is that your go? Like, do you not know how to look at things big picture?
Yeah.
Whether that be get your shot, get your booster, wear your mask, or just stop following a fucking mindless narrative. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I could go on for so long because I feel like I've run into so many people like that.
Well, and I think for me, like, freedom of choice is important.
It is important.
But you also have, like, the safety of others should be, of yourself and others should be your primary concern, not your idiocy. And I think I don't have, like, at this point in time, like, my opinion of it is, if you have not gotten the vaccine, that's your fucking choice. And if you die, that's what you deserve. Like, because you've had the opportunity, it's available for everyone, right? Like, you're putting yourself in that position, right? I'm not doing that to you. Nobody is doing that to you, right? So, if you get COVID and die, that is on you. That is not on anybody else but you, right? So it's your choice, freedom of choice, right? Here's the thing. We know 100% what happens if you get COVID, right? At least, the chances of what could happen. And so I'm not concerned with people who are unvaccinated. I'm fully vaccinated. Not that doesn't mean I'm, got this shield around me and I'm protected and I'll never, feel sick with COVID. I mean, that's not how that works. But like, what will happen is if I do contract it or whatever, it will be a much more mild case or whatever the case may be, right? And I won't die from it, more than likely, right? And so that's your choice, right? And that's fine. I'm not going to argue with people. I'm not, like, because at the end of the day, like, if you want to be an idiot, be an idiot. I mean, that's your choice, right? Like, I don't care. Like, I literally don't care. Like, all you are doing is hurting yourself and you're hurting others, because if you do contract it and you do die, obviously that impacts others, right? And so you're taking yourself out of the picture, potentially, for your family, your friends, whatever, right? And again, that's just selfishness. It's selfish and it's idiocy.
I think it's like, I want to say it's a combination of being selfish in a way, but also just being ignorant to, like, how you should actually think.
Right.
So to use an example, a family member, and I won't say who, but they said, like, it was like so sad to hear them say this. It was a while ago, and I think it was right before I got sick. And I had said, like, hey, how are things at work? Had people getting sick, and they were like, oh, well, this person I work with was such and such years old. They just died. Like, they had COVID, they were on the respirator, their heart stopped, and they died.
Yep.
And they were really sad about it. And, like, that already made me sad, and I was empathetic towards that, because I knew this person they were talking about.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, fuck, that sucks. Like, that person was a really nice human being. And they continue to say, well, right off the bat, I'm like, I'm really worried about you. Like, I hope, you're taking precautions, because you do work in the public. You're constantly touching objects that people touch. I hope you're washing your hands. I hope you're wearing your mask. I hope you got a pocket full of hand sanitizer. You can use it any moment. I hope you're fucking snorting it up your nose. And I just showed general concern.
Right.
And I just said, like, well, what are you guys going to do? Like, what are you going to do if you get it? Because that's going to set you back. And they just kind of, like, stared off into space and were like, well, we're just going to trust God. And, I know, like, you're laughing, and I wanted to laugh, but I was like, That is so sad, because when they said it, they looked really sad. And so I think that, I'm not saying that for everyone, because I know some fucking idiots who are saying things out of ignorance and just plain selfishness. But I think that was a combination of just like, they don't know that that's a bad way to think.
Right. And
like you're gonna put yourself at risk because you want to have, and I'm not bashing religious people, but you want to put yourself at risk because of faith.
Right. I mean, you can't.
Like, you have to be careful with faith. I have faith. When I call 911, I have the utmost faith that an ambulance is going to come to my location. When I turn on the fucking faucet, I have the utmost faith that there's going to be some water.
Right. Right.
You got to be careful with that.
Yeah, but my thing is like, you know, same thing, right? Like, if you have, you know, if you all of a sudden have bronchitis and you go to the doctor and they give you a prescription for it, is that same person taking the prescription for bronchitis? You bet as fucking sure they are, right? So how can you choose what you decide to have faith in God in? What? You can't have it both ways. You can't say, I choose to have faith in God on this stuff, but this stuff, he's a fucking idiot and I don't trust him. Like, that doesn't make sense.
You're
like
100% right.
It's science, and if you're willing to trust the science behind these things over here, whether it be the common cold, you know, bronchitis, strep throat, whatever it is, right? And you're willing to do that, instead of having faith in God that you'll just be fine, right? And then why all of a sudden do you not trust it over here? Like, that doesn't make sense. And you can't.
It
and I tell you, they can't tell you why. They have no reason why. The reason why is because they heard it somewhere, they read it somewhere, their pastor told them. Right? That is why. But yet, if you get cancer, are you not going to take cancer treatments because you're just going to trust God's going to take care of you? Like,
I mean, they're out there, and it's kind of.
I mean, people are out there like that. Don't get me wrong, but again, it just.
I get what you're saying.
You can't be half in and half out. That's the most idiotic thing of all time.
Well, that's the thing, is that most people are half in, half out, and it's because they're full of shit most of the time.
Right, they're full of shit. Like, and I'm not saying that medical science has the answer for everything. We know they don't. I believe there's things within medical science that they refuse to actually put out there because of money. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I am willing to bet that there is a cure for cancer out there. But we will never see it because cancer is a moneymaker. Like, you'll never see it for that reason.
Yeah. Like,
and it's super sad, but it goes back to...
It's the truth, though.
It's all about money. That's all that really matters. And I think you said something earlier, like way earlier in this conversation around, you know, well, so-and-so said, you know, that this was cooked up in a lab somewhere. Hey, I've got a big shocking revelation for everybody. Most of this shit is cooked up in a lab. Like, because of the fact that, like, we're always fucking with shit.
Yes.
Like, we're always, like, on, like, testing this new stuff. And not just our country, every country. I'm not saying this is exclusive to the United States. And I'm not saying, you know, and I'm not saying the United States created COVID. But what I'm saying is, this stuff, like, diseases and things like that happen, natural evolution happens with some of these things. But there's a lot of things that are cooked up in fucking laboratories that then get out. I mean, how do you think they come up with these ideas for dirty bombs and like all this other fucking shit? Because they're experimenting all the time.
All the time.
Right? So, like, I'm not 100% sold that the COVID didn't come out of a laboratory somewhere. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked at the end of the day if we all find out. Now, we'll never find out. I mean, that much I know. But, like, I wouldn't be shocked if it was. In whoever's country. I mean, it could have been multiple countries that were... They got together and had a big
ayahuasca session.
Yeah, they were like, what do you got, man? What do you got? And they mixed it all together and COVID appeared. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But, like, why are you surprised, like, if anything came out of a fucking facility somewhere? Like, we're always constantly fucking with shit. You know? So it's like... And again, I'm not saying that's bad. because I think you have to experiment with things and you have to like understand what could come next, right? And try to be ahead of it and whatever. But it's like, but again, you just like, you can't, I go back to what I said, like you can't be like all in or like on this, like you can't border this line of like, I have faith in God and everything except these things.
Well, yeah, I mean,
right?
Like, so like you can, but
God,
it just makes you look like a fucking idiot.
Regardless,
like, it makes you look
right?
disingenuous.
Regardless of what you believe, right? Whether it's God or Buddha or Muhammad or whatever, right? And we'll use God as the example because that's what we've been talking about. God didn't, like, early on, if you believe in the creation, you know, all the creation stuff, God didn't just, like, God gave them things to survive. Hey, fuckwad, there's a tree, burn some shit. Like, get yourself warm. Oh, hey, jackass, make yourself clothes. Like, all these things, right? Like, so, like, what if those people would have just sat back and went like, God's gonna take care of me. Like, and just sit on their ass doing absolutely nothing. Like, that's not how, like, regardless of what you believe in a higher power, like, the tools are there. You can't just sit back and, like, I don't believe in going to the doctor because God will take care of me. Well, good luck. Like, those are tools that you've been given, like, to take care of yourself.
Right.
Like, I mean, it's just, it's incredible to me that it's like, it's ignorance. It really just boils down to ignorance. Like, they just want to believe and have this faith and, like, all this other stuff. You know, regardless of who you believe in, faith is a big part of that, right? But nowhere in the Bible did I ever see, in the Bible or the Quran or anything, see any passage related to be a fucking idiot and don't take care of yourself because you need to have 100% faith in me or you're never coming to heaven. Right? Like, that's not what that is about. Like, and then, like, you know, you want to go back and it's like, then you get into the argument of like, well, it's in the Bible. Okay, well, where did the Bible come from? Well, you know, the text, and then the King James is the only Bible. And no, the King James put it in the version he wanted to, just like everybody fucking else does. Like, right. Every other version of the Bible came out because somebody didn't like something else.
You know what's funny is, like, nobody ever thinks about that.
No,
like,
it's like...
you do realize that there's a million versions because someone with the last version read something.
They read it, and they were like...
I don't agree with
that. They
were
like, wow, you know what? This book's kind of cool, but I don't like these few things, so I'm going to create my own version.
God told me to change it.
Right, God told me to change it, so I'm going to go ahead and change it because it fits my lifestyle better. Like, that's what it is, right? But how many, you know, that and that's kind of, it's funny because that's kind of exclusive to the Bible. How many different versions of the Quran are there? There's not. Like, there's one.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, and again, I'm not saying one is true and one is not. That's up for everybody else to debate. I'm not going to debate that. But, like, at the end of the day, it's like, you believe these things because you read them in a book that has been translated down for hundreds and thousands of years.
It's literally been in the telephone game for like 6,000 years.
Right.
It's
you play a telephone game with 8 people. And if you had somebody, like, just an announcer during these 8 people that was like, okay, and they can't hear him, and he's like, this guy said this. By the time you get to person 8, that shit is so fucked up. And you're talking about 8 people within a matter of 5 minutes. I mean, this is hundreds and thousands of years that you read it in a book that you're like, this is exactly what I'm supposed to do. Like,
it's a strange way to live. Like, it's definitely strange.
It is. It's very strange, and honestly, it's sad. Like, at the end of the day, I think what it boils down to is it's just like, at times it makes me mad, right, and infuriated because people can be so close-minded. But at the same time, it's like, it really boils down to it's just sad because these people live a life that they'll never be fulfilled in life because they're never, like, searching for themselves. Like, they're like serving this purpose and having faith in something, and that is what's dictating all of their decisions in life. Like, they're never going to be like, the most deeply religious people are some of the most like fucking depressed people I have ever met in my life, that literally are going nowhere. Like, religious people that have open minds and things like that are so well-rounded most of the time, and they're going places, they're doing whatever, like, you know, like, because they have an open mind. Like, they understand things. And then, you know, I mean, you'll have the argument of like, well, that's not what God wants. Like, who are you to say what God wanted for everybody? Like, if that's what you believe in, who are you to say, like, who made you the judge, jury, and executioner of God? Because you have a book that millions of other people have? Big deal. I've got that book too, and guess what? I think it says this. So what makes you right? Like, that's the problem that you have, but it's sad because, like, they end up living like this, like, dead end life. That, like, they seem like they're never fucking happy. Like, they go to church and they sing their fucking songs and they say their prayers and whatever, and then they live their miserable fucking life the rest of the week. And, like, because they're not willing to, like, think for themselves. And like just understand, like, what is best for them as a human being. Like, you know, and it's just sad. That's why people, like, within religion in general, and this happens a lot, you know, you see it in cults, they're so manipulative. Like, because they're not, in all transparency, they're not the brightest people. Like, and they can be manipulated so bad because they're so close-minded, like, to things, right? And it's just sad.
It is. But, I mean, then again, like you had said earlier, like, you have the freedom to think that way.
Right, you do.
But, like, that's going to be your problem when you reap, you know, the side effects of it.
Right.
You know, and that comes down to any decision that you make, whether it's COVID-related or religion-related. I mean, like, at the end of the day, it's them going home fucking miserable and clueless to the real world that we live in, and that's their problem.
Right, and you gotta own up to your decisions, right? And, like, the fact that you say, well, I do this because of X, Y, and Z, like, shows that you have no ownership whatsoever over your life, right? And, like, you know, it's like, if I choose to just drink Mountain Dew and eat Doritos all day long, I'm gonna pay for that, right? Yeah. Like, my body is gonna deteriorate, like, I'm gonna have health problems, like, all this other shit, right? If I decide to eat, you know, rice and chicken and salad every single day, I'm going to reap the benefits of that decision, right? Now, I may not be the happiest person in the world because I'm probably roid raging out of my mind because I want something different to eat outside of chicken, rice, and salad. But you have the benefit side of that, right? So it's all about choice, right? And so it's like, but when you throw in the whole, like, well, because I have faith, it's like, that's just an excuse. Like, so you're not taking ownership of your own life? Like, you're not taking any responsibility over your choices or your lack of choices. You're just saying...
Well, I was going to say, I mean, it's a cop-out and
right.
to be, you know, an asshole.
It's a cop-out. I believe this way. Okay. Like...
There was one thing... I'll close with this. There was one thing that has always, like, haunted my memory, and it did cause me to be a little jaded in a way towards certain religious folk. And it was several years ago, and I was following someone. They were in a band that you and I both have listened to before, and all they did was post, mind you, this is a Christian band, and the guy, he's a devout Christian, he's a really cool guy, really good songwriter, but he posted a picture of a man that he knew who was a youth pastor. I want to say it was in Utah. A really, really stand-up guy, according to the person that posted it. He'd known the guy for years. He'd been a Christian his entire life. The guy was a youth pastor, was very active in the church. was such like a wholesome, loving dude. Just like the kind of religious person that you would want to be around.
Yeah.
You know, because they're real people.
Yeah.
You know. Well, the guy had committed suicide.
Mm-hmm.
He killed himself.
Yep.
He had depression for many years, into his teens, up until he was in his mid-30s. The guy suffered from depression and never really sought help. Mm-hmm. Because he was using a faith-based system to live his life, which was his decision.
Yep.
And he ended up, dude had a family, a wife, 2 kids, and dude ended up taking his own life. And the person who posted it, there's nothing wrong with his post. He said, rest in peace, brother, I hope you're flying high in heaven, blah, blah, blah. All the stuff that you would expect. Mm-hmm. And it was a really heartfelt post. Well, I started reading the fucking comments. And there was so many people saying, like, well, that's what happens when you're backslidden.
Yep.
Or like, oh, well, maybe he should have prayed harder if he had depression. There were fucking people on that post that said depression isn't even real. It's because you're not praying hard enough.
Yep.
They were pissing on this dead guy who had had a wife and 2 kids who suffered from crippling depression, which is real. Mm-hmm. And they were pissing on him because of their egotistical mindset of their faith-based system that they have. I can tell you that probably made me more mad than most things that have made me mad, like in my entire adult life. It was such a disappointing thing to read that, because it was like, you are literally talking to someone who is absolutely at their lowest human point in their life, and instead of thinking with your brain and being empathetic, like, wow, sorry for your loss, you have to say, well, the Bible says. Mm-hmm. And then you have to piss on him and his family. Dude, that made me so upset.
Because, here's the thing with, any kind of, mental, health issues is it's all chemical based. Like, it doesn't care your religion. It doesn't care if you're Billy Graham or Chester Bennington or fucking Robin Williams. It doesn't. It does not care. Like, and you can try, like, and many of people, my struggles with depression over the years, like, I have found, I was medicated for a while. I'm not anymore. I've found other avenues to kind of channel a lot of different things. So there's ways to, like, work through it, right? Like, there's ways that you can combat and kind of offset and, like, but it's all about the education of it, right? Like, you have to, like, understand, because mental health impacts everybody so differently. Like, you could sit there and have 100 different people diagnosed with depression. They probably don't act the same at all. Like, you know what I mean? Because it impacts everybody so differently. And so it's like, you have to find the route that works best for you, but that's all about education. And it starts with, like, seeking help first. And the problem is, within the religious community, is that when you try to seek help, you either don't seek help because you have faith, right, that you'll be fine if you just keep doing what God wants you to do, or you try to seek help and you seek help within the church of the same like-minded individuals that basically tell you there's probably something wrong with you. Then what have you been doing to sin against God, or whatever, right? Something to that effect. It's rare that those types of folks will then go, well, maybe we should go see a professional. Right? It's rare. I'm not saying it doesn't happen at all, but, like, it's definitely rare. And so those folks are just compounded upon, right? They have no way, because they think they're doing something. They feel a certain way, and they feel like they're doing something wrong, even more so than they should. And again, depression impacts everybody so differently. And, like, when, bouts come over, for me, you do feel, like, completely just annihilated, right? Like, that there's, like, nothing that will, like, make you get up. Like, nothing that, like, it's incredible how it happens, right? And so, and again,
it can happen. Even you could be having, like, a really good day, and you could get up to, like, take a piss, and then you come back, and it's there. Well,
and again, it's about...
And you're just like, what the fuck?
Right, and again, it's about education, because what happens a lot of times is there's triggers, and whether we know what those triggers are or not, there's triggers that cause it, right? And so that caused those chemical imbalances to start happening again. And so like one of the biggest things with that is educating yourself with professionals on like what is the triggers, right? And like how can you like avoid, you know, some of those things happening to better yourself and to put you in a better spot. Like, you know, I still struggle with it. And, you know, I think of it as like I live with it, right? Like I live with it daily. That doesn't, you know, mean that I've gotten over it, because you can't get over mental health issues. You just can't really, right? You learn to adapt, and you learn to like cope and live with it, and, you know, things like that. But like it impacts everybody so differently. And I think, you know, unfortunately with that, it's in the religious community, it's looked at as, you know, you're less than, right? If you do something like that. And of course, you know, we won't even get on the topic of suicide in the religious community. I mean, because obviously that means completely different for the Catholic community. That means you don't even go to heaven. You know what I mean? There's like all this, you know, stigma around suicide, right? In general, that you're just a horrible person if you do it, right? And you know, I mean, I have my feelings on that as well. But at the end of the day, it's just sad that, again, your point is like this guy, unfortunately, you know, felt a certain way, right? Couldn't take it anymore, right? Clearly wasn't getting the help they needed, right? Yeah. And you know, same thing for a lot of people that have, you know, passed, you know, in recent years, you know, and, you know, people pass all the time, but it's like they're not getting the help they want, or they just can't find a way out, right? And like it compounds, and the easiest way for them to deal with it is just to end it, and it's really sad. You know, I've been there, like, you know, I've had those thoughts, I've had those feelings, and like it's not a good place to be in at all. And like that's the place where you really have to like, that's like an integral point where like you have to talk about it. Like you can't keep it silent, because it eats you alive from the inside out and becomes literally this like disease throughout your brain, and you can't get away from it, you know? And it's sad. It is really sad.
Yeah, I agree. I know exactly what you're talking about. But, well, I think we're going to wrap it up.
Yeah.
We talked on some heavy fucking topics.
Yeah, without knowing what we were going to talk about either. It's pretty good.
Yeah, you know, this isn't bad for pissing in the wind. You know, we did pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. No urine on us either, so that's good.
Yeah, I got no pee-pee stains on me. You know.
I don't know. I might have peed my pants.
I just wore a diaper. So, but yeah, good conversation. You know, as always, good shit.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
To all of our, you know, millions of subscribers out there.
Hey.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for dealing with our bullshit and our vulgar language, Mom. Yeah, right. You couldn't pay her to listen to this.
Nah.
But as always, everyone stay safe, stay honest,
That's
don't
right.
be an asshole, don't be a racist.
Hey, that's right.
And love your neighbor. Everyone have a good night.
Adios.